Funding for The Router Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. Today, in The Router Workshop, we begin a special two-part series, creating a unique bath storage cabinet. Bob and Rick will show you how to use a tenon cutter and straight bit to cut the mortise and tenons in the facing, as well as using a half-classical bit to apply a decorative edge mold. Our bath storage cabinet, Part 1. Next, right here in The Router Workshop.
Welcome to the Работа Workshop, and this is the first part of a two-part series on our bathroom storage cabinet. Dad, what are we going to do?
Well, today I'm going to do the mortise and tenon for the facings in it, but just looking at the doors to get a good look, we've got some splines and they're dovetailed, but they're tapered, and we got a really neat way of doing those things.
And that's going to be next time. And first time, I'm going to go ahead and show you a neat way to use rabbets and dados. And I'm already set up at my table, so I'm going to go over there and do that.
Do that.
All right, our first operation here is to go ahead and put the dados and rabbets and the groove for the back on the casework. So what we want to start with, or what I've started with here, is one large full piece. And what it is, I've got one right side and one left side already in the piece. But we're going to put the dados and the grooves in first. So let's look at what we're going to use to do that. I've got a router here all set up. And what I've got is I've got a 3/4 inch straight bit, which is going to allow us to put the dados in the pieces. And the fence that I'm using is exactly the same size as the bit. So what it's going to do is go into the groove and allow us to do the rabbets on the outside. So the first thing we need to do is set the depth. I've already got it set up, so it's at 1/2 the material thickness, or 3/8 of an inch. And let's go ahead and cut the pieces. So we'll loosen this up, bring it up into place, and we'll make our first cut here. Now what we've got is the dado for the top shelf. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the router around the other side here, and I'm going to go ahead and put the dado for the bottom shelf in. Now that we've got both dados in, the next operation is to set the router up so that we can do the rabbets on the two sides, one for the top and one for the bottom shelf. So let's reverse the router around, bring it down in so that it fits in tight to the edge. I'm going to loosen off the nuts on the side fence and move the fence over so it just clears us for our rabbets. Tighten it back down again, and now we're ready to make those cuts. So we'll go ahead and start the router. Now what's happening is that this fence is running right into that groove that we've made, making our rabbets perfect on both sides. Now what we've got right now is two pieces where we've got the top rabbet, the bottom rabbet, and the two dados in the middle. The last operation is to go ahead and put the groove down the center so that we got the back, and now we've got both left and right. To do that, what we need to do is first off set up our distance at 7 inches, because I am exactly 14 inches, so we'll do that by setting up our distance at 7 inches, giving us our center. and that means we have to cut on both sides of that. So now that I've got that mark, we need to go ahead and set the fence up so it can do the cut. So we'll loosen off the fence, move the fence up so that we get to that router bit being right in the center, and you can really see the center of that bit right real easily because it's marked. And we'll tighten that down, and now all we have to do is plunge and make that cut, and we'll start it up again. Set this aside, and let's get my hammer here for a second, and let's just show you what I've got. Clear out the piece here. When we bring these up to you and let you look at them, I'll get rid of the dirt. Now, looking at this piece here, we've got the rabbets, we've got the dados, all in place. Now, all we have to do is set the table saw up, cut it down the middle, and we both got right and left, and they fold together, and they match. First time, every time, all the time.
First thing with the mortise and tenon I'm going to start with is the fixture for holding those pieces that need to be mortised. We've got a couple of wedges here and a fixture, and I want to clamp that to the workbench so it doesn't get away on me. So we'll put a clamp on each end. Now, first operation here is we'll need to chuck up a 1/4-inch bit. Yes, I'm just about off my table there. Just let me move that in a little bit and make it a little handier here to tighten. In fact, I can pull that out a little bit there. Now, I've marked them. There's the two pieces. On top of here, we've got a mark, and that's the width of that tenon that we need and the width of the mortise. So we need to start from one end and come along inside of it, but we need to center it also, and we've got a neat way to do that, so it comes inside of there. Now, the other pieces we have, these are the ones we're going to cut the tenons on. We'll cut them last. We'll cut the mortises first. So now, I've got a face side, put face side in. I want to just set that there because I want to show you something very neat about it. And what I need to do is set up the router bit first, and I'm going to cut a 1/4-inch one. So what we need to do is put in a 1/4-inch bit. Now the 1/4-inch bit that I have is a spiral. It's 1/4-inch wide, cuts a straight slot in it, looks like a drill bit in many cases, and we'll put that in here and tighten it down. Get my wrenches, and the router is unplugged for safety purposes. Pop it in. Now, what we've got here on this base plate, if you have a peek at this base plate in here has got a couple of bearings, one on each opposite corners. Those two will sit on the opposite side of that stick. As I tip that up in here, if you have a look at now, what I've got in here is I got one on this side of the stick and I got one on the opposite side. What it does is automatically center the bit. So you just twist that, hold tight, and cut your slot in it. Plunge down and cut the slot. Now, the only problem is when we've got this right at the end, there's no place for that bearing to line up. So what we have to do is use both sticks at the same time. And when I say at the same time, we'll put a wedge in here, and those wedges will hold real good. We'll just tap it in like that. Then we'll use the other one, and we'll put the other one in, and we should be able to put face side down inside of here, and we'll bring that. So what we're really doing here is we're cutting the two pieces at the same. Those are the top and maybe a bottom at the end. We'll cut them and then we'll reverse them. So now when we set the router up, we'll pop it over this direction and bingo, we're down inside of it. Well, what about depth? Well, I think the tenon lengths we're going to use about 1 inch. And if we do that, what we need to do is get our little brass setup bars here. And we've got a 1/4 and we've got that one. We'll need one more in here. So we got 2 1/4 and a half should make us up. And we'll set them. Let me just turn that around. Maybe you can have a little better look at this. And we'll set it inside. Set one piece on top of the other. Put them in between here. And loosen that off. Oh, it just slips off inside of there real good, didn't it? Now we got it. Pop it in here. Run that down. Tighten it. Height set. Automatically done. Now, tighten it up, make sure it doesn't vibrate loose. Turn the router around so I can see what's going on. And once what we do in here, we'll start down and probably not go the full depth because what happens is we got a lot of debris there and we got to get it cleaned out of the slot as we do it. So I'll start there, come up, stop, and I can get both of those. And we got the power, and we're away. Now, tap the wedge loose in here. And just clean that out a little bit. Got a little fuzziness from the pine on the top of it. And there's the groove hole we got in it. And that's your mortise. Now, it's got round corners on it, but watch when we come back to that. Now, before I take that one out, I'll put that stick back in again so we get our length. And we'll tap it in, and that's the opposite end. Now we'll do the same in here. Just tap that out, turn that stick around, and put it back in. And automatically it centers. And tap those back in. They're held right in there. Those are the easiest way to clamp things, people, because you don't have to do nothing. It just works superbly. Now we'll pop these in. Just set that router over there, and we'll take these out. Put that down. Rid of those wedges. Now, there's the sticks, and those are the styles. So those are the ones that stand up and down. The ones that fit in between are the rails, and those are the ones we're going to put the tenons on. And in order to do that, we need a different kind of fixture. So I'm going to set those two pieces aside, and we'll take this holding jig off. And all kinds of little clampy things, don't we? I'll just stand that down out of the way. Now I've got a big hole base plate in here. I need that. Set that up, because I'm going to show you the cutter here. People are going to look at this and think this is a pretty wild cutter here. What we've got is two slot cutters, one on either side with a spacer. When that piece passes between there, what passes between leaves the tenon to fit perfectly into that mortise that I just put in with a 1/4 inch bit. So the space is 1/4 inch. Now, using a variable speed router on it, you probably like, just for the safety sound of it, if nothing more than that, intimidation, is to make sure you lock it down on this lowest speed, see? Now, tighten this down. And let me get that in here, and we'll just tighten that up. Now, I'll bring that cutter up through here. You can just have a quick look at that. That's the clearance, and that's why I needed the big base plate. Now we need a fence system to do that with. We got a fence system exactly for that. And I'll just bring the cutter up so you can have that on the side. Then we'll go to the fence. The biggest job you have with any routing at all is you've got two things to do. You set the height of your bit and the location of a fence. This one we've got pins on the bottom, steel pins, and that go in two holes. And what it does is set that distance automatically for you and sets it up like that. Now there's the height of that. Now what we need to do is just, in case that should jump up or whatever, we'll put a couple of clamps in it if there's any vibration in it. And tighten that down like that. Now, the next thing we have to do is set the height of that bit. Well, the height of the bit we want to be exactly centered inside of it, so that would be probably a 1/4 inch, because we got 1/4 and a 1/4 inch tenon and a 1/4 inch left. So the bit off this surface should be a 1/4 inch. So we'll just set down here with our brass setup bar and raise the height of that. Now this is one you have to do from this side, because you can't put it ahead of time. You don't have your fence on. We'll just set it right there. Now, the biggest job we have here, again, is you can hold face down, but how are we going to hold these? So we'll use the miter block that comes with there, and it just slides along the outside edge. Rotation of the bit will keep it up tight in here, and we have a guard on it. And this guard is kind of neatly set up. It locks into place here. It won't come into place so much when I do this first cut as it will the second one. See, now we not only have to cut these two shoulders out, we also have to cut either edge on here, because it can't be mortised right out to the edge. So we'll put the face side down, we'll lock that in here, put that hole down on it, and I might just like a little more tension on it. So we'll tighten that up tight in it, lock it in. Now we need some power. So we'll unplug one router and plug in another. Hopefully it's in an on-off position. And here we go. Now, maybe we can have a look at that. See what I've got in here? I've got a shoulder on either side. That's quarter, and that's quarter. It's right centered. And when we put them in that mortise that we made, it should come right out. So what I'm going to do is cut right through, and I got 4 of them to cut. Now, having got those corners, we've got these shoulders to take off of here. We've got to take a piece off of that. Now we just take that jig and turn it around this way, and inside there are 2 little bullet catches that kind of lock that piece into place. And we'll put that in here, put that clamp out of the way, pop it up here tight, and see it holds it in there. It just locks. You can feel the catch in it. The piece won't drop out. It gives you a little support in it too. Put it over there tight. Now you watch and see how that guard comes into play.
The next step is to cut the moldings. I've chucked up a 1/2-inch classical bit, set my fence, and I'm ready to go. Now that we got the molding made, what we need to do is put a rabbet down the middle. So I'm going to change the bit one more time. And to do that, I'm just going to have to take off all this dirt here. And we'll change it one more time. Unplug your router when you're making your changes and setups. And we'll set that aside. The router bit I'm going to put in is going to be a 1-inch straight bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a groove down the middle to receive a rabbet. Now that rabbet's just going to give us a position that we're looking for. Here's the bit we're putting in now. It's a 1-inch rabbet bit, or a 1-inch straight bit. And we'll tighten that back down. Now we're just going to raise it so it gives us a little bit of a groove so that when that molding sits on that top, it has a place to rest. So let's get our fence back again. Get rid of our tape here. Put the one clamp on. And we'll put that into a position. Now let's take our pencil here for a second and let's find a place where we want to start that rabbet. What we want to do is we want to put a rabbet in here and one here. So let's just check to see how close this is going to do. We're going to set it onto the outside. We're going to reverse it and see if it'll match. And no problem. So there's where we want to set it up. So we'll slip the clamp on, tighten it down. And let's go ahead and make our cuts. Now that we got the molding in the middle, all we need to do now is take it to the table saw, cut it right down the middle, and we both have the front and the side moldings already made.
Now it's time for tips from the workshop, viewer mail, and tricks of the trade on Router Bits Tips and Wood Chips.
Our tip for today is how to make sure that you get left and right when you're making case goods. To start with, what I'm going to do is cut the dados and rabbets in my sides for my casework. And now we need to set up for the rabbit. Tighten it down, and then we're ready to cut the rabbits. Now that we've got the rabbits and the dados done in the piece, the tricky part is going ahead and setting it up so that we have right and left. So let's take a quick look at this first. We want to make sure we got it right before we start cutting it. And what we're trying to do is we're going to put a groove down the back and make it so that it puts in the pieces of plywood that will tie the case cabinet together. So we need a right and left side. To start with, I'm going to mark the top. And when I have the top marked, we are now going to go ahead and mark. Putting the two together, we have a right one and we have a left one. We're going to mark them with a white or black line down the side, and that line we're going to keep to the fence. So now we need to set up the fence so that it's going to allow us to put the 1/4-inch piece in. So we're going to change the cutter here, or change the fence. Rotate it around, and then we'll lock this down on one side. Tighten it up. Unplug it and set the 1/4-inch depth. What we have to do is set the depth of the rabbit to match the thickness of the material that we're using, and this is 1/4-inch. So we'll set it out to the outside edge, and that gives us our 1/4-inch. And let's go ahead and cut that now. Now all we need to do is follow the line, make sure it stays tight to the fence, and make the cut. Now, there's the top marked, as you can see down at the bottom, and that's how you get left and right using two pieces. Now, when I was teaching school, I always was having trouble with the students getting mixed up with this operation. So when we used it, we started to think of a better way of doing that, and that's using it as one piece. Now all I do is use the router in a portable position, cut the dados and the rabbits. Turn it around, and you notice that it's a full 3/4 going down the groove here now. So then when we get to the table saw, all we need to do is set it over for the 1/4, cut the two pieces apart, and I've got left and right always right. And these dados will match, and so does the rabbits. Well, I got the pieces cut here, Dad.
Okay, let's see if we got some fits here. I
All
got
right.
one side.
Okay, we'll flip from the top shelf. Add that other shelf, and we'll do my side here now.
That one.
All right.
Now
I got the top and bottom right here.
Okay. We'll each take an end of that.
There's the... Just hold that, and I'll pass this one over to you. And we get that in there.
Now let's just
Stand it up.
Like that.
Now, let's see if
You
you
think
got
you can balance that?
I
and
got
I'll get
this.
the facing.
You get the facings.
I kind of stuck that together here. They seen how that fits. And now we need to do is glue that on, and that's what
Glue that on. That's what we've got done for today. Don't forget to drop us an email or a snail mail. And again, join us next time right here in the Router Workshop.
We'd like to hear from you. You can email us at the address on your screen. Send your comments, questions, or project ideas to the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 608, Chamberlain, South Dakota, 57325. Or in Canada, the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 280, Ely, Manitoba, ROH-OHO. To learn more about the Router Workshop, visit us at the internet address on your screen. Next time in the Router Workshop, the second of a special two-part series, creating a one-of-a-kind bath storage cabinet. Sharing tricks of the trade, Bob and Rick will show you how to combine an ordinary dovetail bit with a special dovetail fixture for doors to create a set of doors that makes this cabinet truly unique. The Bath Storage Cabinet Part 2, next time in the Router Workshop. Funding for The Router Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. For $16.99 plus $4.99 shipping and handling, you can order Bob and Rick Rosenthal's The Router, a 130-page book which includes a plan to build the router table and bench, plus numerous tips, techniques, and educational information. Call 1-800-803-1449.